Hello everybody, Shevuot Daf, and I hope you're doing well. Today's Daf is Shevuot Daf 20 Omid A. Just carrying on from the last Daf, the end of the Gemara. Abai said, actually saying, on my oath I will eat, means I will take an oath that I will eat, is not difficult, because there is a difference between the context of the Mishnah. Here it is referring to an oath taken in context where others are impugning him to eat. So when he says, on my oath I will eat of yours, his intention is to indicate his refusal to eat. There it is a context where others are not impugning him to eat. Mesalvin, importuning. The root samach resh bet means to exchange or importune. Is often found in the form sahav, meaning masalhavin, which is the Aramaic form of the word. Some think it is an expanded root of resh hey bet, or an expanded form of resh yud bet. The Gemara explains, the Mishnah here is referring to a case where others are not importuning him to eat. Therefore, his oath should be understood literally as obligating himself to eat. The external Mishnah in Taktik Nadorim is referring to a case where others are importuning him to eat, and he is saying, I will not eat. Under those circumstances, when he takes an oath, this is what he is saying. On my oath I will not eat. Rav Ashi, offering a different resolution of the contradiction, says, teach, I revise the Mishnah Taktik Nadorim to say in the middle oath, on my oath I will not eat. Of yours, i.e., using a different formulation for, on my oath I will not eat of yours. The Gemara asks, if so, what is the purpose of stating what is effectively the same oath twice? The Gemara answers, lest you say that there is a concern that the oath was a slip of his tongue. So as a footnote, in other words, he intended to say, she'okol, I will eat, and instead said, she'okal, I will not eat, says Rashi. The Ran writes that this possibility arises because he should have said simply, shelo okal, but used the unusual form, she'okal. Tosafot asks, since there is a lack of clarity with regard to the meaning of what he said, why not just ask him what he intended? They answered that it is referring to a case where he forgot what he meant, and that he said that the oath should have the meaning expressed in the words, and that any other intention should be disregarded. And he meant to take such an oath that he will eat, and instead said, I will not eat. The Mishnah teaches that one need not be concerned that this is what occurred. The sages taught the clear utterance of her lips with which she had bound her soul. In Numbers 37 is referring to an oath. If one says, on my clear utterance I will do such and such, or on my clear utterance I will not do such and such, he's taken an oath. This ruling is in accordance with the Braita. Rambam Sefer Aflah, Hilchot Shevuot 2:6, Shulchan Aruch Yodea 237:4. And the bond with which she has bound her soul, Numbers 35, is also referring to an oath. With regard to the prohibition invoked by the word bond, if you say a bond is an oath, he is liable, but if not, he is exempt. The Gemara seeks to explicate this Braita. If you say a bond is an oath, but you already said that a bond is an oath. Abai said, this is what the Braita is saying. Clear utterance is an oath, whereas bond is the association of some object or action with a matter that has already been prohibited by an oath. Words of prohibition invoked by the word bond. If we say that creating an association with an oath is like explicitly expressing an oath with his own mouth, then he is liable to bring an offering for unwittingly violating the oath and to receive lashes for doing so intentionally. But if it is not like stating an oath explicitly, he is exempt. They might analyze Abai's explanation. From where may one derive that clear utterance is an oath? One derives it from the verse written with regard to an oath on an utterance, as it is written, or if anyone takes an oath to clearly utter with his lips, Leviticus 5:4, The Gemara asks, isn't bond also referring to an oath? As it is written, every vow and every oath and of a bond to afflict the soul, her husband may let it stand, or her husband may make it void in Numbers 30:14. Rather, from where may one derive that a bond is the association of some object or action with another matter that has been prohibited by an oath? One may derive it from the verse, as it is written, or bound her soul by a bond with an oath in Numbers 30:11, which indicates that the bond is associated with the pre-existing oath. The Gemara asks, isn't the term clear utterance also associated with an oath in the verse? As it is written, whatsoever it be that a man shall utter clearly with an oath in Leviticus 5:4. Rather, Abai said, the fact that clear utterance means an oath is derived from here. And if she is be married to a husband while her vows are upon her, or the clear utterance of a lips with which she has bound her soul, Numbers 37, while in that verse it does not state oath, with what does she impose a prohibition upon herself? She does so with clear utterance, indicating that clear utterance is referred to as referring to an oath. Rather said, actually, I wish to say that association with an oath is not like expressing an oath with one's own mouth. And this is what the Bible is saying. Clear utterance is an oath. Bond can also be an oath, but it is ambiguous. The verse placed the wording of the prohibition of a bond. That is, the meaning of a bond is ambiguous and depends on how one expresses the prohibition. If one uses it as an oath by prohibiting oneself from performing a certain action, e.g. by saying, a bond, I will not eat, then it is an oath. And if he uses it in the form of a vow, when he forbids a specific item himself, e.g. by saying, this service has been to me as a bond, then it is a vow. This is how this Braita is explained by Rabbi Yirmiyah in the Jerusalem Talmud Tract in the Nedarim, between that of a vow and that of an oath. The basic difference between an oath and a vow is that in an oath one prohibits himself from performing a certain action, while in a vow he imposes an object, a status to be forbidden to him or others. One place where this difference is expressed is where the oath or vow conflicts with a mitzvah. An oath not to keep a mitzvah does not take effect at all, with all Jews are already under oath to keep all the mitzvot by their participation in the covenant of Mount Sinai. By contrast, one can render the object of a mitzvah forbidden to him by vow, thereby generating a conflict between fulfillment of the vow and performance of the mitzvah. Therefore, if one expressed a bond with the language of a vow, it is a vow. But if one expressed it with the language of an oath, it is an oath. Isha Shehotzio Belosho and Shevuot. If one states a bond using the language of an oath, in that he prohibits himself from performing an action or obligates himself to perform an action, e.g. by saying, a bond to God, I will do such and such, is considered an oath. Rambam Sefer Flor Hilchot Shevuot 2:7. The Gemara asks, where does the verse place the word bond between a vow and an oath? And the verse says, and if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound her soul by a bond with an oath in Numbers 30:11, the Gemara comments, Abai and Rava both follow their own line of reasoning, as it was stated with regard to one who associates some object or action with another matter that has been prohibited by an oath. In the case of one who associates an object or action with another matter that has been prohibited by an oath, e.g. upon hearing or taking an oath not to eat some item, one says that with regard to another item, it should be that, like that one, the oath does not take effect by Torah law. Therefore, if he eats the associated item, he is exempt both from receiving lashes and from bringing an offering, as the halacha follows the opinion of Rava in his dispute with Abaye. Some say eating the item is nevertheless prohibited, says the Midrash, although Rambam holds that it is not prohibited at all. Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nedarim 3:1 Shevuot Daf 239:9. Abai says it is like explicitly expressing an oath with his mouth, and Rava says it is not like explicitly expressing an oath with his mouth. The Gemara raised an objection from Abai. So what is the bond mentioned in the Torah? A bond applies to one who says, "It is common upon me that I will not eat meat, and that I will not drink wine on a day like his, i.e., my father died. If one were not to eat on the day that his father or teacher died, and he fasted accordingly, and then later he declared, I take this day upon me like the day that my father or teacher died, he is prohibited from eating on that day. This is the case of creating an association of one vow with another. That's the Rambam Sefer Aflah, Yochad Nedarim, 3.5, Shevuot Daf 241. Or like the day on the day that so and so died, or like the day that Gedaliah ben Achim was killed. Gedaliah ben Achikam was installed as the governor over the depleted population of Judea after Nebuchadnezzar sacked Jerusalem and exiled many of its citizens. As a vassal of Babylonia, Gedaliah was despised by some of the Judean survivors. After knowing warnings about the evil intentions of Yishmael ben Netaniah, Gedaliah was assassinated by him. See 2 Kings 25:22-26. The date of his death, the 3rd of Tishrei, is commemorated by Jews to this day as the end of the first Jewish Commonwealth. Killed or like on the day in which he saw Jerusalem in its destruction. One who makes one of these pronouncements is prohibited from eating meat and drinking wine. And Shmuel says this is the case only where he is prohibited from eating meat and drinking wine by vow since that day, e.g. the day his father died. The version of the text means that he vowed that on each occurrence of the date or day of the week that his father died, he will not eat meat or drink wine. This is how the Rif understands the conclusion of the discussion of this topic in Talmud Adam 12a. The Midrash has a different version of the text that reads that he is prohibited by vow on that day, and the vow was not to eat meat or drink wine on that day, on that specific day, on the day his father died. The Gemara explains the objection. Granted, according to the opinion of Abaye, from the fact that a vow that one associates with another vow is considered a vow, as Shmuel's ruling demonstrates, one may conclude that an oath that one associates with another oath is considered an oath. That's the end of the Omer. Thank you for listening, and have a very good week. All the best. Bye.